a conversation with one of my friends this weekend that honestly could have been a conversation with any one of my friends, and either one of us could be saying it because it's something that happens a lot. The conversation goes something like this. One of us will text the other one and go, "Oh my God, I'm so unhappy. Like, I hate everything right now. I feel so weird, miserable, disconnected, just terrible." And the other one will go, "Yeah, I feel the same way. I know what you're talking about. Absolutely." So then it's like, okay, what are we going to do about it? How do we fix it? What's the solution? And for me, I'm like, hey, I have all these ideas. Hey, I was just reading this new book. I have like 5 or 6 books sitting here, and each one of them is like, hey, this is the thing. This is how you fix it. And, you know, this is exactly what you need to do. Here are the 5 steps, the 10 steps, the 8 steps. All of your problems will be solved if you'll just follow this book. And then it's like, okay, cool, new plan. This is the week. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get out of this feeling and we're going to feel better. And then inevitably Monday comes around, or this week it's the Mondayest Tuesday and we don't do anything. Nothing changes. We do the same thing that we've always done. And it's like, I wish I could change. I really do. But the same habits that I've always had just feel so comfortable. And I don't want to feel uncomfortable, right? And I was thinking about this because there are some things that I really, really want to change. And I was like, okay, I've made major changes to my life in the past. I've done that. And some of them have felt really, really difficult and weird. And others have been like super easy. Like when I moved to Boston, that was a huge change. I grew up in the Midwest. I was living in the Midwest. But I bought a plane ticket and I moved. You know, I got a new job. It took me like 6 weeks to find an apartment, but I figured it out. And it was scary and it felt weird sometimes, but I mean, it really felt good too. So it was like this combination of like adventure and then also terror. but it was like the adventure moved me forward better, you know, like I was addicted to the adventure part of it. I've moved across the country several times. I actually moved to North Carolina a couple times, and that was one of the first things that I did. I traveled to England by myself and stayed there for 3 months when I was like 25. And for me, that was a huge thing because I had never been out of the United States before. So traveling by myself, and I had only been on a plane like maybe twice before that. And so here I was signing up for like, I think I spent more than 15 hours on the plane because I had to fly to Amsterdam and then back to England. So it was a long trip, but it was also like the adventure, you know, the fun of it all. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've done, so I have all this evidence in my life that I can make major changes, right? I've gotten jobs that felt like it was impossible to get that kind of a job. I started a podcast. I have a podcast that has almost 150,000 downloads. I mean, for me, that's crazy. When I started it, almost 2 years ago, the episode that's coming out next week is like the 2-year anniversary episode. I didn't know if anybody would listen to it. You know, I didn't know what to talk about, or I didn't know what a download was. I wasn't entirely sure like where to upload it to. Like, how do I get this out to people, you know? And to know that there's 150,000 people who've listened to it now is crazy, right? But if I wouldn't have been brave enough to say, okay, I need to make a change. I have a story to share with the world. I want to help people. Then that never would have happened. We wouldn't be here right now. So it's like you look for evidence right? And there's plenty of evidence in my life that I'm like capable of change. So what's the difference? What's the difference between all of the ways that I've been able to change and all of the ways that are things that I've wanted to change and can't seem to change them? What's like the magic sauce that pushes you over the edge? I mean, for me, a lot of it has been like misery and desperation and like this overwhelming desire, and sometimes necessity, like this whole feeling of I just can't stay in this situation any longer. Like it has to be something else. And I know I've been learning a lot about energy, so I'm sure you're going to hear me talking a lot more about energy in the future. All of these things like misery and desperation and fear, they're all these negative energy emotions. They bring your energy down. And the best way that you can make change is to actually change your energy first, to lift it up to a more positive energy. Things like love and gratitude and Angela, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Wanting it more than wanting something else. Yes, that's for sure. But when you lift your energy up, it's so much easier to change because you're focused on you're in a whole different place and you're focused on different things. I made one big change that has been huge for me that I didn't think was really that big of a deal. I took Gabrielle Bernstein's meditation challenge last month, and I wasn't really sure what meditation was. I guess I'd heard that it was like, sitting in a space and trying not to think about anything for like 10 or 15 minutes. And I thought, wow, that sounds like torture, because I can't even shut my thoughts off enough to go to sleep at night. I mean, how can I sit there and think about nothing for 10 or 15 minutes? But what I realized, that's not really what it is. What it is focusing on one thing. And if you have a guided meditation, it works so much better. So the one that I did this morning was about positive affirmations. And I've been doing it now for a couple of weeks now, and it's made such a huge difference. Even in little things, just like, some of the big things for me that are like little things, but they're big things for me, they stand out a lot. Things like driving down the street. Where I live in Boston, there's a ton of traffic. All of the streets are incredibly busy. So every time you have to go somewhere, even if you're just going like 10 minutes, it's a disaster because there's so much traffic and people are so rude and they're always like pulling out in front of you or stopping in the middle of the road for no reason. And so it's like road rage just skyrockets. For me, it does. And I know that it's a problem, and it's like, okay, how do I fix this? How do I control this? It got to the point where I was like angry just thinking about getting in the car. Like I felt all of the fear and the rage and the like, I don't want to do this. People are so annoying and they're so rude. Just thinking about getting in the car. But since I started meditating, and a couple of the meditations, one of them, like the one this morning, was about positive affirmations. There's one that I do that's about gratitudes. So just thinking about all the small things that you're grateful for. So when I was driving down the road this weekend, feeling the same, road rage, people are so rude, they're just not considerate. And I was feeling like my energy drop into all of those feelings. And it's like, I don't want to be in that place. I don't want to think like that. So what do I do? How do I change that? And all of a sudden the gratitudes came to mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a list of all the things that I'm grateful for. Like, what am I grateful for? And you're sitting in the car in this really negative energy, and it's like, okay, start small. Like, I'm grateful for the air conditioning. I'm grateful that I drive a nice car. I'm grateful that, you know, there's music. I'm grateful that I have this nice phone that has tons of music on it. All of these little things, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm starting to feel better. Like, it's not the end of the world that people are rude and they're pulling out in front of me. Like, maybe this drive might actually be enjoyable, you know? And the longer, like, you spend 15 minutes in the car going to wherever it is you're going, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I just spent 15 minutes finding all kinds of tiny little things to be grateful for, and now I feel like totally grateful. Now I have this whole better energy about me, and I can focus on something else rather than, you know, all of the negative things. And it's something really, really small that you can change that is such a huge thing. I mean, it makes a huge difference in your life. Just shifting your focus just a tiny little bit. One of my favorite people to listen to is Kathy Heller, and she talks a lot about how a lot of times we're like really close to the mark. It's just like this tiny little shift that we need to make that makes all of the difference. And I really think, I mean, there's so much that, like, we're so close to the mark, and if we can just make this tiny, tiny little shift, it'll change everything, really. Angela says, I'm grateful for you. I needed this conversation today. I'm so glad. I'm glad that you're here and that it's helped you. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you. I mean, I feel like there's been so much changing in my life in the last 3 or 4 years, but definitely the last 3 or 4 months too. There's been another like huge shift and change, and I'm so excited. I know that there are good things coming, and I want to share all those things with you too, because I want you guys to have these big wins and small wins that turn into big things too. So yeah, hopefully I'll be showing up here a lot more, sharing some of my wins with you. And maybe you guys can share some of your wins with me too. I've done some Instagram lives with other INFJs, and I would love to talk to anybody who wants to share some of their story, share some of their wins, anybody who needs some advice or just wants to chat. It's really my goal to create this amazing space here that's like a safe space for all of us to come together and connect. I feel like there needs to be more spaces like that, more spaces where it's okay for us to show up and say, hey, I'm not okay. Like, I need some help. What can we do? Or some space to say, you know, hey, I'm going through something. Because there's so many people. I mean, there's more than 60,000 people on this account. Surely there's somebody out there who's gone through the same thing, who can say, you know what, I've been there, and this is what you need to do. When I was talking to my friend this past weekend, she was telling me, I feel just like icky and terrible and like dissociated from myself. And I'm like, oh, I've been reading this book, and it's because of your inner child. And you felt like that when you were young. And we just went through this whole thing, and she's like, oh my God, like, yes. How did you know that? I'm like, no, this book, you need to get a copy of this book. Like, for sure. So I feel like, I mean, there's a lot of us out there who could do the same thing. Like, I've been through feeling dissociated. I've been through feeling lonely and isolated, as we all have in the last couple of years. But a lot of us have gone through that earlier in our lives. We've gone through it at other times. And some of us are farther along on the journey where it's like, I can help you. I've been there. And it makes such a huge difference. Even just having somebody to say, what's going on? Let me listen. Let me hold space for you. It makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I want this to be a safe space for all of us to come together and share our stories and to learn more about ourselves and to be the best version of ourselves. I mean, that's the true INFJ goal, right? To just keep learning, keep growing, keep getting better. So, all right, that's what I have for you today. I also wanted to let you know that I'm doing this 21-day challenge that is called Come Home to Yourself. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure that you do. It is at infjwoman.com/comehome. And it's all about these tiny little things that make this huge difference in your life, right? Just like how meditation has changed in a big way for me, having gratitudes, turning that fear into gratitude has been this massive change. If that's something that you need in your life, this is going to help you do that. It's 21 days of these tiny little things that are going to make huge changes in your life. So make sure that you go and sign up. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. I have to get back to work. But yeah, anyway, go check it out. You can find it at infjwoman.com. And thank you so much for joining, Angela. Thank you so much for buying a badge. You are so completely amazing, and I appreciate you. And I'll see you guys soon. Maybe tomorrow. How about noon Eastern time? Maybe we'll make this a thing for a while. All right. See you guys. So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.